These are very big shoes to fill after the first speaker, and I feel very overwhelmed. Um, there are all sorts of talents in the world and skills that we are bestowed with, and I think we know that already. That this is what we're trying to struggle, right? That's why we go to college. We try to learn or find a skill for ourselves that can support us for the rest of our lives, but also give meaning to our existence. That's what we're trying to do. Is this good? Is this loud enough? Okay. So I just want to reflect on sort of a bit of the journey that I've taken based on being an artist and where I am, and what does it mean to be an artist, because, so when I introduce myself, I say, I'm Hurmat, hi, and I'm an artist. What does that mean? Because a lot of different types of artists and arts exist in the world, right? And if you think about it, every child that we come across is an artist of sorts, right? Um, they know how to build something. They know how to talk their way to getting an ice cream. They know how to color outside of the apple or inside, and that's an art form. That's a skill. So, what is it that we mean when we say that either professionally or in terms of an identity, we own this word or this meaning of being an artist? What does it mean? So I find that I'm two people. I'm not one. I'm the regular person, me, and I'm the artist. So there is space that is being shared by two people inside me: the artist me and the regular me. And I mean, you can call it being slightly bipolar, sure, but the truth of the matter is that there's always this struggle as to which part of me wants the bigger space. Because you see, the regular me wants to, do the regular people stuff, buy pretty clothes, wear makeup, be able to go home, watch TV, microwave my pasta, eat it quickly, go to bed early. That's when the artist in me wakes up. And she's very critical, and she goes on and on about all the things I've not been able to do in life, all the things that need to improve. Come on, quickly. Obviously, that kind of a thing. And all the mistakes that I've made in my 33 years of life. There's this constant nagging as to what needs to be, what needs to improve, what needs to be better. And that kind of voice, it's always there at the back of my mind. I think it's always there for a lot of us. I feel like listening to that voice and sort of like obeying it, and how much obeying it. It's this kind of a negotiation that I'm referring to, that I go through, and that a lot of you, I think, go through. So the artist in me doesn't want to make safe choices. If I let her, she probably wants to run around on the mountainside naked and call it art. The other side of me, the regular me, wants to make pretty pictures and, sort of put them on the walls and like smile sweetly, that kind of a thing, right? But then we have to, at some point, come to a negotiation between the reality of life, of the everyday, things that are pulling you back, things that are working against you, things like, having to pay the bills, things like having to tend to your family, your old parents, your young children, things like having your car broken down on the way to an important work or meeting. How do we constantly make these choices where we set our priorities every day and we make these decisions that this is important to us? How do we decide that, today singing a certain song or painting a certain painting is the most important thing for me to do, and I need to believe in it enough that it's going to get me somewhere? How do we put all this belief in an object or an action? It's very, very hard, but we have to make these decisions, and we have to believe in ourselves to keep going. That's how we're able to write books. That's how we're able to write poems or make films. if we don't believe in us, we won't be able to do it. We have to listen to that nagging voice at the back of our minds. So I'm going to start with showing a little bit of my work. And this first work is a banana video from 2006. I'm going to have to play it. Do you mind playing this thing? I did work. Okay, so this work was made in 2006 in Lahore. At that time, I was in my final year of thesis, undergraduate degree, National College of Arts. And I was going through some very serious health issues. I was also trying to give my thesis, as I said, in my final year. And the thing with that was that my day-to-day life was a little bit about this daily struggle of keeping up with my minimum nourishment to keep going, and part of it also was to keep on making work. A physical kind of labor that goes into making that happen. So I was going through this eating disorder, and I had to be very careful about what I could consume and keep down. And baby food was one of the only things that I could eat. So I started having bananas in the studios. I would keep like a bunch or two, dozens of bananas. Whenever I felt hungry or felt like I couldn't keep going anymore, I would have a couple of them and struggle to keep it down and just keep it going. So this banana video was literally an on-tape reenactment of this daily activity that I was going through. So for this video, I ate 14 bananas. And you can see that this is the 12th one, and I'm struggling to keep the food down. And after that, it got quite gory and a little explicit, so that's not part of the work anymore. And this is a way in which the artist me and the real me with the health issues and the body and the physicality that needed to be saved, negotiated, and made a work out of it. So this work was very real. It was very at that moment of something that was going on in my life and with my body. I'm going to go on to another work. Okay, this one. All right. So this next work.
मैं एक लड़की हूँ, मेरी उम्र 24 साल है, मैं पाकिस्तान के शहर लाहौर में रहती हूँ। मेरा मजहब इस्लाम है, मेरे घर में 6 अफराद हैं, मेरे 2 भाई और 1 बहन है। मैं बीए पास हूँ, मुझे किताबें पढ़ने का बहुत शौक है, मैं बहुत अच्छी तस्वीरें बनाती हूँ। मैं कभी झूठ नहीं बोलती, मेरी सबसे अच्छी सहेली का नाम आयशा है। मेरे अब्बू ऑफिस जाते हैं, मेरी अम्मी घर का काम करती हैं, मैं घर के कामों में उनका हाथ बटाती हूँ। मुझे फूल बहुत पसंद हैं, मेरा पसंदीदा रंग पिंक है, मैं बहुत मज़ेदार गाजर का हलवा बनाती हूँ। मैं एक लड़की हूँ, मेरी उम्र 24 साल है, मैं पाकिस्तान के शहर लाहौर में रहती हूँ। मेरा मजहब इस्लाम है, मेरे घर में 6 अफराद हैं, मेरे 2
All right. So this video keeps going on and on. It's a half-an-hour long video in which we keep on chanting this on repeat till we get very, very tired and a little confused, and we start to stumble on our words. And one person is going forward, and one is, sort of like tagging behind. And let me just give you a little background of this work. So, in our society, there are certain fixed ideas about what women are, what they do. What kind of things they like, what kind of clothes they wear, right? I mean, it's not a joke that we have 100 types of lawn prints, all with flowers, right? I mean, there must be some idea as to what kind of women, what kind of clothes women like to wear, right? So there are very fixed ideas. Some of these ideas have even graduated to the level of facts. And these facts come very handy when we have to assess a woman's quality in terms of matchmaking, marriage, we can easily go into, okay, so check, 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 check. These things she knows, she must be a good girl, right? So what we started to do was, my collaborator and I, we started listing down all these things that we thought that were these facts, these ideas, and certain ideals that we had about women. And part of them were actually true. We lived in the city, we each actually have two brothers and a sister, that kind of thing. And we were like, what are these facts? Can we try and learn them by heart? And this kind of back and forth motion of trying to learn something that we associate usually with learning a holy scripture, that idea comes from usually learning something by heart or committing it to memory rather than actually trying to understand something. And that was very, very important to us. That these are prescribed notions or roles of gender in the society that we need to learn by heart, and that's it. We can keep going, we're good for the next few years. So it's been 9 or 10 years since this work was made, but I feel like it's still true. I'm still the same person. There's still expectation for me to like the color pink more than any other color. I'm going to move on to another work. Right. So in this work, how I was using the sort of reality of the things around me to my advantage. How I was using the weaknesses, my vulnerabilities as my strengths was that when I moved to the US, Chicago, in 2009 as part of the Fulbright program, one of the few cultural shocks that I got was the idea of eating alone. Not in the sense of lonely alone, but more like you're eating by yourself in front of somebody and you're not offering them to eat. In part of our culture, we all like to just eat a lot, right? But we also like to share our food with other people. So you have half a chewed sandwich and we're like, huh? We just like to share food. That's how we are. This is who we are. And obviously there's a cultural difference, and it's not rude at all to just keep on chewing your sandwich and talking to the other person who you don't offer food to. And food became a very, very important kind of point of research for me, because food as a means of what it does to your physicality, it's a form of nourishment. It's also a sexually charged medium, but it's also a social behavior. It conducts people to behave in certain ways, in certain acts. So the Crow Effect project is a project in which, again, my collaborator Rabia and I decided to host complete strangers to our apartment. We gave this ad out through the local shop, through friends of friends, and we just sent out this invite call saying, if we haven't met, you're invited to dinner. Just email us, show up on that specific evening. And we had these crazy experiences. There was somebody who showed up who didn't want to leave. And again, it's a cultural thing. The Americans later told us, thank God, that you could just get up, start brushing your teeth, and be like, okay, I'm going to bed, are you going to leave now? But we didn't know how to do that. So we just sat there till 11:30. It's been 4 hours. This person wouldn't leave. We're looking at each other shit, what do we have at our hands? How are we going to make this person leave? And the person actually said, this guy, do you guys have a couch I could crash? It's the first time we're ever meeting. So we had this weird experiences, but we also came across people who we made friends with. And we had some kind of a relationship. There is a certain sense of belonging that comes with knowing somebody in a city, in a strange city. And this idea of being new in town, you're the guest in that town, right? But how to subvert that and become the host? And this idea of hospitality, how hospitality plays a key role in this negotiation between the host and the guest, and who has the more power over you, the guest or the host. You're extending an alliance to somebody, And that way, we extended our sort of Pakistani roots into the city of Chicago. This guest, I'd like to mention, she was the first guest that we ever had at our apartment as part of the Crew Effect project. And she had no clue what she was signing up for. When she read the project Crew Effect, basically we named this project Crow Effect because we were tying in this whole South Asian tale about, the crow pawing at the wall of your house when a guest is coming, right? And we thought that, this idea of like, if a guest is going to be coming at your house, there's essentially a crow somewhere that is going to caw, and you're like, okay, a guest is coming. So we had this little tale published in the invite, and she didn't know what to expect. So she brought a dead crow with her to the dinner. Yeah, it was quite disturbing. But again, we were like, oh, okay. So we have like biryani and like, whatever, I don't remember, like korma or something. And we had a dead crow lying there on the table, just like that. And she wanted to gift it to us. But we were like, no, why don't you take it with you? Why don't you take it to the next person's house? She eventually took it with her. I do have a photo of that dead crow. And then we took this project around the world. We have been to 4 different countries with this project, where we have hosted guests in countries where we have never been before. And this photograph is from the episode that we conducted in the UK. And this gentleman was a writer who was writing on twin artists. This fictional characters that he had about his book, in which there were going to be 2 twins, like 2 brother and sister or 2 sisters, and they're going to be artists. And when he found out that we were conducting this project, he came to research us while we were researching him. Yeah. So, on to the next project. This idea of food and hospitality took very deep roots into my practice. And I became very, very interested in how that shapes identity and self and existence. So there was another move that happened in my life soon after. When I came back from the US, and I came for an interview at NUST here to apply for a position of lecturer at the School of Art, Design and Architecture. They offered me a job, some like really sloppy salary, and I was like, oh, I'll take it, what the hell, I'll just move to Islamabad now. So I've become this weird kind of a person who could just move anywhere with these bags and try to, find new friends and make art and whatever. So at that time, they didn't have accommodation to offer me right at the beginning. And I was looking for, a place to stay in the city. So I went around looking for a hotel room or a guest room or a hostel. And it turns out that I, as a single woman, could not book a hotel room in my name anywhere in the cities of Islamabad and Pindi. That was like mind-blowing for me. It's like I have just been like around half the world, traveled so many countries, taken my work, shown. I cannot book a room in my name. So they kept on saying that you have to go get a husband or a father. My father works abroad. I did not have a husband. Where the hell am I going to get somebody to book me a room? So in one of these instances, I took a friend along, and they were like, "Are you crazy? No. But if you're not related, he cannot book a room for you." I had no clue what was going on. So at that time, I found myself parked in different people's guest rooms and children's room and studies, friends and relatives and acquaintances. I was just like all over the place. I would stay for 5 days in somebody's house and be like, okay, thank you, and just move to somebody else's house. And in the meantime, I was, begging NUST to give me an accommodation on campus. So I was feeling very disoriented. I was feeling like the artist in me was dying. It was crying out. It didn't know where I could find the fodder for my practice and my existence. And I was looking for a studio. I didn't have one. I didn't have the right kind of tools and the space to make art. And I was feeling very out of my depths. So what I started doing was I started photographing the people's rooms where I was staying. And it became into this cultural project where I photographed a lot of different people's guest houses and rooms and inside of their spaces. So these are just different people's rooms with my stuff and, like my feet sort of like in the photograph. And this is another photograph with the same kind of a thing. And I'm just showing two, but there are like a lot of them in which the whole idea is to investigate how people live and how you as a guest become an owner of a borrowed space.